So I pay almost zero taxes legally. Now, how did I do that? I went from being a $200K a year employee of a medical device company. I was paying typically 40 to 50,000 a year in taxes. So I was making more, so I was paying a little more. It was around a 25% taxable rate. How did I go from that to paying almost zero? Well, there's some secrets in the tax code that allow you to legally pay less money. Are you interested? Well, it also exists not just for people that do what we do, like real estate. There's things that people can do as high earners and ways that we've seen people to be able to reduce taxes to zero or almost zero. So if you're interested, let's jump in. I'm going to share some secrets as well as at the end, a special secret that I haven't really shared before. So let's stick around to the end and you're going to love it. Let's go. All right, so welcome. If you're new around here, my name is Bronson Hill. I'm the CEO of Bronson Equity. We help people get passive income through things like real estate, businesses, ATMs, car washes, all types of different things. So if you haven't joined our investment club, check that out. Thanks for being here. So how does someone go to reduce taxes? If something sounds too good to be true, right? Is there an unlocking this zero tax secret? What is really the secret to do that, right? If something can sound too good to be true, it doesn't necessarily mean it's too good to be true. It means that it's time to investigate. It's time to do more work, right? So kind of look into it and see. So the way I did it was through something called the Real Estate Professional Designation, or REPS, right? So if you search it, this is something in the real estate code, which the real estate code is thousands of pages. It says in there, if you are a real estate professional, which means you do over 750 hours a year in real estate, it's your primary thing, and you're materially involved in the business of real estate, and you document all this, then you can basically use things that other people cannot. You can use the depreciation from your real estate investments to be able to work against ordinary income for you or your spouse, right? And I've seen some people that their spouse is a real estate professional and they're able to do it. I actually have a guy I know who's a medical sales guy like I was, and his wife was a Fortune CEO, Fortune 1000 CEO, and he was able to they were able to keep more money by him not working. Isn't that exceptional? They were able to keep more money for him to actually not have to go to work. And so when they heard about it, they were like, this is crazy. How is this even real? But why would the government do this? Why would they give these incentives? Well, they give these incentives because they really want to give people an opportunity to help align with their interests. And we're going to get into that here in just a second. So the one thing I mentioned, the real estate professional designation. The other one is there's energy investments such as oil and gas, other sorts of energy that actually can potentially produce an ordinary reduction of income, right? So I'm not a tax person. I'm not giving you specific tax advice. I'm just saying this is stuff that exists out there. Consult your own tax strategist or a professional that kind of works on taxes. So there are actually a whole group of tax consultants. If you send me an email at admin@Bronson Equity, BronsonEquity.com, we can send you a referral to a tax strategist that can help you. So we're happy to make that introduction for you. But really cracking the code, what does it look like if something is not a scam? If it's something, like I said, if it sounds too good to be true, investigate it. Look for authentic strategies. We talked about this a little bit in real estate. One is through depreciation. Now, if you're not a real estate professional, meaning you have a job, whatever, you can still use depreciation from an investment to help offset other gains from other investments. And we've seen this happen. There's some great investments out there. One that we love is the ATM machine investment, because it's equipment. It actually is better than real estate depreciation. It typically depreciates, it will always depreciate to zero over 5 years. So 100% of what's invested will depreciate because it's equipment. And there's no recapture. A recapture event is when something is sold later, like real estate is sold later. If you brought forward any depreciation through accelerated depreciation or bonus depreciation, which is just ways we bring depreciation forward, you have to recapture when you sell. Well, with equipment, you don't have to do that, right? So depreciation is a huge one. Another one is if you own a business, if you're a business owner, and you know about this, if you're a business owner, hopefully that you can use write-offs. If you go to a conference, if you have expenses on your business, if there's things you do and you pay employees, you pay anything you're paying in your business, sometimes there's ways you can work expenses in there that are somewhat related to personal, or you have a trip that you're going on, maybe it's some sort of trip you're going to, there's a business purpose to it, and then you can kind of work some fun into it as well. You can find a way to create, obviously talk to your tax professional, but a way that you can kind of write some or all of that off depending on what you're doing with that, which is great. High earners, like we talked about, if you're a professional such as a physician, I was medical sales for 10 years, worked with a lot of physicians, still work with a lot of physicians, and other professionals such as CPAs and lawyers. Typically, highest earners paying the highest amount in taxes, and it's the hardest to reduce the taxable income. Now it's possible, like I talked about oil and gas, there are ways that you can basically invest in certain oil and gas type deals where you can get a reduction of ordinary income based on what's expent, right? So why would the government do this? Why would the government, and let's talk for a second about that, why would the government give these incentives, right? Well, the government is interested in providing things like affordable housing. Have you ever seen an example of this? If you go to like any city and you look at the projects, right? This is government housing, right? It's like no one wants to live there. But if you have basically private housing the government subsidizes, it typically is run much better and it's a much better setup. So they will subsidize and give incentives for people like us that run apartments or other sorts of real estate investments to run those. So that's a way you can partner. I know people that are really, really wealthy. Even some of the most wealthy people in the world don't pay hardly any taxes because they're doing things that are in line with the government's interest to really help provide jobs, provide housing, those type of things. And then with the energy space, why would they give such incentives, even almost better than real estate incentives, to reduce ordinary income in the energy space? Well, decide what the current administration is doing with energy and trying to reduce consumption of energy. When we have reliable, clean, energy, we have reliable energy that can, anytime it's just available, it really helps us to be able to create more. And so they want to incentivize private individuals that are willing to do that, businesses that are willing to do that. So don't mean to be political, but I do think having energy is great. A great book on a side note that to read on this topic is The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. It kind of changed my mind on some of the energy consumption stuff, and we only hear a lot of times only the conservation movement, which I'm all about conserving, but it's a great book, The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. If you read it, send me a line. I'd love to hear what you think about it. And then the third thing I want to say is just be willing to get help, right? If there's an area where you don't understand or you need help, be willing to ask for help, right? There's a saying that a squeaky wheel is the one that gets greased, right? So if you're willing to raise your hands, hey, I need help, and that's where things like CPAs, professionals come into place. But there's a difference between a CPA or someone that does your taxes and a tax strategist. Tax strategists are usually fee-based. You pay them a certain amount, and they will look for ways to save you taxes. They'll be looking for ways to kind of structure things so that it can make more sense for you. So it can be a paradigm shift. Open yourself to different possibilities that are there. I mentioned about the guy who stopped working because he was going to make more money if he was the real estate professional and he stayed home. There's also this amazing sale of a dental practice that in California, a couple guys I know had, and they sold this practice, and their tax bill was going to be over $2 million, and they reduced it down to $125K, and I believe the sale was around $5 million. So they saved, literally millions of dollars in taxes they would have paid. They did it through a creative tax strategy and finding different ways to save on taxes. So anyway, so that's kind of the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing I wanted to say, and something I haven't really shared before, is that with taxes, it's so important to really go after and just, I personally don't think the government is a great deployer of capital. You may completely disagree that, hey, we need roads, we need other things as well. And I think we do need these things, but they're not very efficient, not very efficient at all. So if you, whatever you can pay, again, there's a difference between, tax, there's tax avoidance, which means you find legally a way to do it. And there's tax evasion, which is like you owe the taxes and you don't pay it. And that you go to jail for. So I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying find ways to lower your taxable basis, get consultants involved, and you can really find ways to be able to do that. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, reach out, let me know your thoughts. Would love to hear back from you. And then I want to share this quote for you. What is the difference between a taxidermist and a tax collector? And it's a taxidermist only takes your skin. And that's from Mark Twain, right? So anyway, it's a little bit cynical and tongue-in-cheek there. But I want to share also this video with you that talks about my good friend Mark Kwan, who's he's a strategist as well, talks about buy, borrow, and die strategy, where you can basically buy stocks, borrow against the value of them, and then you can continue to do that repeatedly until you pass away. And so not as morbid as it sounds, but check out that video up here. And then if you haven't joined our investment club, we're doing multifamily, oil and gas, ATMs, car washes. We've also got a whole slew of new investments that are coming out. So if you haven't joined it, you're not hearing about it. But go to bronsonequity.com, click the join button. We'll start a relationship with you. Looking forward to connecting with you. And thank you for taking the time to educate yourself. We'll see you on the next video.